You went viral when you broke into tears telling Lil Durk not to retaliate in King Von's death.
You know, it was so emotional because Durk, he said, I need you to come here, right? He said, we can do it in Miami, whatever, but I need you to come here because I need you to talk to these. That's what he told me. He said, I need you to talk to him, Wallo. I need you to talk to him. I said, all right, I got him. And when I get there, I didn't know it was gonna be that many. It was like 100 of them. We in the basement in Chicago. It's 100 of them.
And them niggas, they ready to ride?
Yeah, no, they just was there, you know.
Okay, they want to hear what you wanted to say.
No, it wasn't even that. They didn't even know why they was there. Durk was like, we gonna do it in the hood.
Okay.
I want you to holler at them, boom, boom, boom. So I'm like, I got you. When I got there, I'm like, he like, man, listen, I need you to holler at him. It just so happened that when I'm talking to him, I understand, because I'm talking to a couple of them on the side, and I understand that nothing is more important in the ghetto than revenge. Revenge is king.
Yes.
Closest thing to God. Because the black man is willing to die about his ego.
Lil Durk walked off the set of Club Shay Shay, and the moment he stood up, every single person in that room allegedly went completely silent. Not because Shannon Sharpe said something disrespectful. Not because the interview went sideways over music or money or the federal case. But because Shannon asked one specific question about King Von. And reportedly, what happened in the next 30 seconds is something that the production team has allegedly been told not to discuss publicly. Think about what that means. A man who has built his entire career on turning pain into platinum records. A man who has spoken about loss more openly than almost any artist in rap history. A man who has said Von's name in songs, in interviews, in acceptance speeches. That same man allegedly could not sit in that chair for one more second when the question came. Why that specific question? Why that specific moment? And why is it that Wallo 267, the man who allegedly made this interview happen, the man who reportedly spent weeks working behind the scenes to get Durk on the most influential interview platform in hip-hop right now, was allegedly watching from off-camera when it happened and reportedly said nothing? Because here is what nobody has connected yet. The question Shannon asked was not random. According to sources close to the production, that question was allegedly suggested. And the name of the person who allegedly suggested it connects directly back to a conversation about G Herbo that has been circulating inside Chicago's inner circle for months. Do not move. Do not skip. Because the reason Durk walked off that set is more calculated and more layered than anything the blogs have told you, and it starts long before Shannon ever turned that microphone on. To understand why a single question about King Von allegedly sent Lil Durk off the set of one of the most watched interview shows in hip-hop, you have to understand the architecture of what Club Shay Shay has become and why an appearance on that platform in 2025 carries a weight that goes far beyond a standard press run. Shannon Sharpe launched Club Shay Shay in 2022 after his departure from Fox Sports, and within 18 months it had become the most watched sports and entertainment interview program on YouTube, regularly pulling between 5 and 15 million views per episode. His interviews with Kanye West, Cat Williams, and Chad Johnson collectively generated over 120 million views and dominated social media conversation for weeks at a time. When Shannon books a guest, it is not a podcast appearance. It is a cultural event. And when that guest is Lil Durk, one of the most commercially dominant and simultaneously legally embattled artists in rap right now, the booking itself becomes a story before a single question is asked. Wallo 267, born Wallace Peoples, is one of the most respected voices in the intersection of hip-hop culture and personal redemption. He served 20 years in Pennsylvania State Prison before his release in 2017, and in the years since he has built a media presence that is genuinely unique in the rap world. A man who speaks with the credibility of lived street experience and the wisdom of someone who has had 2 decades to process what that experience means. His podcast $1 Million Worth of Game, co-hosted with his cousin Gilly the Kid, has been a top 10 hip-hop podcast for multiple consecutive years and has generated hundreds of millions of streams across platforms. Wallo is not a manager, not a label executive, not a traditional industry power broker. But according to sources close to the situation, his relationships across the rap world run deeper and more specifically than most people understand from the outside. And his alleged role in facilitating Durk's Club Shay Shay appearance is reportedly one of those relationships made visible. But here is where it gets interesting. The booking of Lil Durk on Club Shay Shay did not happen through conventional industry channels, according to sources familiar with how the appearance came together. Durk's team had reportedly been approached by Shannon's production about a potential interview on multiple occasions over the preceding year, and those approaches had allegedly been declined each time. Not aggressively, not with public drama, but with a kind of quiet, consistent unavailability that communicates a clear position without creating a confrontation. The reason for those alleged declinations, according to insiders, was rooted in Durk's legal situation and the specific advice of his attorneys, who reportedly counseled strongly against any long-form interview format during the period when federal proceedings were active and where anything said on camera could theoretically be used to create problems for his defense. So the question is, what changed? What allegedly shifted between the previous declinations and the moment that Durk reportedly agreed to sit down with Shannon Sharpe? According to sources close to the situation, the answer to that question is Wallo 267. And specifically, it is allegedly a series of private conversations that Wallo reportedly had with Durk over a period of several weeks in late 2024. Conversations that sources describe as being about more than just a television appearance. Conversations that allegedly touched on legacy, on narrative control, on the specific way that silence in the middle of a public storm can be misread by the very audience whose support Durk would need most if the legal situation continued to escalate. According to insiders, Wallo allegedly told Durk in one of those conversations, and this is being characterized as an alleged quote from a secondary source, so treated accordingly, quote, "You letting other people write your story right now. Shannon is not the enemy. Sitting in that chair and showing them who you actually are is the only power move left that nobody can take from you in a courtroom." That alleged framing, the idea that the interview was not a risk but a form of control, reportedly resonated with Durk in a way that the previous conventional industry arguments had not. And this is the part that nobody is talking about. Because G Herbo was allegedly part of the context in which those conversations between Wallo and Durk were happening. Not present in the room, according to sources, but present in the subtext, specifically in the way that Durk's alleged awareness of the information that had reportedly been circulating about Herbo's alleged role in the events surrounding King Von's death had created, according to insiders, a psychological pressure that Wallo was allegedly trying to help Durk process and redirect. Sources close to the situation describe Durk's emotional state during this period as one of, quote, "controlled grief that is starting to show cracks." A man managing an extraordinary amount of simultaneous pressure from legal proceedings, from the alleged internal revelations about people he trusted, and from the unresolved weight of King Von's death, which sources say Durk has never fully processed publicly in a way that felt honest rather than performed. Wallo, according to sources, allegedly understood that the Club Shay Shay appearance would inevitably include questions about Von. Shannon Sharpe is not a soft interviewer. He does not avoid the uncomfortable territory. His reputation is built precisely on asking the questions that other hosts will not ask, on sitting in the discomfort of a difficult answer rather than redirecting to safer ground. And reportedly, Wallo allegedly told Durk directly that Von would come up, that the only question was whether Durk walked into that conversation prepared to handle it or whether he walked in hoping it would not happen and got caught unprepared. Stay right here because it gets worse. Because according to sources close to the production of the Club Shay Shay episode, the preparation that allegedly happened before Durk sat down with Shannon was extensive by any standard. Pre-interview conversations between Durk's team and Shannon's producers reportedly covered a range of topic areas, established certain subjects as off-limits for legal reasons, and allegedly created what sources describe as a, quote, mutually understood framework for how sensitive areas of Durk's life and career would be approached. King Von's death was allegedly on the list of topics that Durk's team had reportedly flagged as requiring careful handling. Not completely off-limits, according to sources, but requiring a specific kind of framing that acknowledged the loss without creating the kind of detailed, emotionally unguarded response that could generate clips taken out of context. Shannon Sharpe's team, according to sources, reportedly agreed to that framework. Pre-interview agreements of this kind are standard in long-form celebrity journalism. They are not censorship, they are professional courtesy, and every major interview show operates with some version of them. The agreement, allegedly, was honored for the majority of the interview. The questions about Durk's music, his label, his legal situation in general terms, his upbringing, his relationship with his children, All of that reportedly proceeded within the understood framework, and by most accounts the conversation was generating the kind of authentic, emotionally layered content that makes Club Shay Shay the platform it is. And then Shannon allegedly asked the question that was not supposed to be asked the way it was asked. Not the general Vaughn question. Not the standard tell me about losing your friend question that Durk has answered, in various forms, in various interviews over the past 4 years. According to sources close to the production, what Shannon allegedly asked was something specific, a question that reportedly referenced a detail about the night of November 6, 2020 that is not widely circulated in mainstream coverage, a detail that sources describe as connected to the information that has allegedly been surfacing through the legal proceedings surrounding Lil Tim's case. And reportedly, when that question left Shannon's mouth, Durk's entire body language changed in a way that sources describe as immediate and unmistakable. The change was not gradual. According to sources who were allegedly present in the production space during the recording, Durk did not slowly disengage or visibly struggle to compose his answer while remaining seated. The response was reportedly physical and immediate, a stillness that sources describe as the kind that precedes a decision rather than follows one, lasting reportedly no more than 3 to 4 seconds before Durk allegedly stood up, removed his microphone, and walked off the set without a word to Shannon, without a word to the production team, and without any of the social courtesies that typically accompany even the most tense interview departures. Shannon Sharpe, according to sources present during the recording, sat in his chair for a moment without speaking. One source allegedly described the atmosphere in the room as, quote, the kind of silence where everybody is looking at everybody else trying to figure out if what just happened actually happened. Production allegedly cut the recording. Wallo 267, whose sources confirm was present in the building during the taping, reportedly moved immediately toward the area where Durk had exited. What was said between them in those moments, according to sources, has not been shared outside of a very small circle, but reportedly, the conversation was brief and the decision about how to handle what had just occurred was made quickly. Now here is the twist. The detail that Shannon allegedly referenced in his question, the specific piece of information that sources claim triggered Durk's departure, reportedly connects directly to G Herbo. Not through music, not through a public statement, but allegedly through the same chain of information that sources have been describing for months as the most sensitive and most explosive undocumented element of the November 6th story. According to insiders, the detail Shannon allegedly raised is one that has been circulating in a very specific and very small layer of the industry for the past several months. A layer that includes people with connections to the legal proceedings surrounding the Lil Tim case, people with connections to Chicago's inner music circle, and allegedly, people with connections to Wallo 267's extended network. And this is the part that nobody is talking about. Because if the detail that Shannon allegedly referenced in his question came from within that specific information layer, and sources are reportedly suggesting that it did, then the question of how Shannon obtained it becomes as significant as the question of what it contained. Shannon Sharpe does not do unresearched interviews. His preparation process is well documented by his own staff and has been described in multiple profiles of the show as exhaustive, involving research teams, pre-interview source conversations, and a specific practice of identifying the one question that the guest has never been asked in any prior interview. According to sources, that last element of Shannon's preparation process, the single unasked question, is where the Vaughn detail allegedly originated. Someone brought it to Shannon's research team. Someone who knew what it was and understood what asking it on camera would do. According to sources close to the situation, the identity of that person is allegedly known to Durk's circle. And reportedly, when the identity allegedly became clear in the hours after the walkout, when the chain of alleged information from its origin to Shannon's research team was allegedly reconstructed by people inside OTF circle, the reaction was not anger at Shannon. Shannon was allegedly doing exactly what Shannon does. The reaction was reportedly directed at the individual who allegedly fed that specific detail into the preparation pipeline for a Club Shay Shay episode, knowing full well what it would force Durk to confront on camera in front of an audience of millions. Wallo 267's position in all of this is, according to sources, the most complicated and most painful element of the entire situation for Durk personally, because Wallo was allegedly the one who brought Durk to the table in the first place. Wallo was allegedly the one who convinced Durk that the interview was a power move. Wallo was allegedly the one who reportedly told Durk that Shannon would operate within the agreed framework. And now, according to sources, Durk is allegedly trying to reconcile his trust in Wallo, a trust that sources describe as genuine and deep, with the reality of what allegedly happened when that trust was placed in a situation that someone else reportedly used to their advantage. Reportedly, Durk allegedly told someone close to him in the hours after the walkout, and again this is a secondary source characterization, so treat it as such, quote, "I do not know if Wallo knew, but I know somebody did. And I know whoever it was waited for exactly the right moment to make sure it happened in front of everybody." That alleged statement, if accurate, reveals a level of strategic thinking about the incident that goes well beyond a simple emotional reaction to a difficult question. Stay right here because it gets worse. Because G Herbo's name allegedly surfaced in a conversation inside Durk's circle, not as the person who fed the detail to Shannon's team. Sources are not alleging that directly, but as the person whose alleged original communication in the days before November 6, 2020 is reportedly the source of the detail itself. The specific information that Shannon allegedly raised is, according to sources, traceable back to the conversation that G Herbo allegedly had with an intermediary before the shooting, a conversation whose contents allegedly made their way through multiple channels over the course of 5 years before allegedly landing, in some form, inside the research preparation for a Club Shay Shay episode. The implication of that alleged chain of information travel is something that sources describe as deeply unsettling to everyone inside OTF circle who has allegedly been made aware of it. Because it suggests that the conversation Herbo allegedly had before November 6th, the conversation whose downstream consequences have been the subject of intense internal discussion for months, did not stay in the contained, street-level information environment where it allegedly originated. It allegedly traveled. It allegedly passed through hands. And it allegedly arrived years later, in a television production research document in a form specific enough that Shannon Sharpe reportedly believed it was the one question Durk had never been forced to answer. And here is what they allegedly did not want you to find out. The person who allegedly connected that specific detail to Shannon's research team reportedly did so within the past 90 days. According to sources, this was not a historical leak, not something that had been sitting in a journalism pipeline for years. This was allegedly a recent, deliberate, and targeted placement of specific information into a specific context at a specific time timed reportedly to coincide with a period when Durk's legal situation was at a particularly sensitive juncture and when a public emotional breakdown on one of the most watched interview platforms in hip-hop would allegedly create the maximum possible narrative damage. An emotional breakdown on Club Shay Shay, a man who built his reputation on handling pressure walking off camera when a specific question is asked, does not help Durk's legal situation. It creates a narrative of instability. It creates a clip that defense attorneys and prosecutors alike will watch carefully. It creates a public moment that allegedly does exactly what sources claim it was designed to do: make Lil Durk look like a man who is not in control of his own story. And G Herbo, according to sources, is allegedly the unwitting origin point of the information that made that moment possible, which is a position so complicated and so layered that sources say even people inside OTF who are most angry about the alleged chain of events are struggling to assign it a clean moral category. But here is where it gets interesting. Because Herbo's alleged role as an unwitting origin point, if that framing is accurate, depends entirely on whether the conversation he allegedly had before November 6th was genuinely private in his own understanding or whether, according to sources who take a harder view of the situation, Herbo had some awareness of how the person he was allegedly speaking to might use what they were told. That distinction is one that sources close to OTF circle are reportedly split on internally. Some allegedly believe Herbo made a mistake in trust, that he shared information with someone he believed was a neutral party and could not have anticipated the downstream consequences across 5 years of legal proceedings, information travel, and now alleged television production placement. Others, according to sources, allegedly take the position that someone with Herbo's experience, with his understanding of Chicago street politics, with his documented awareness of the tension between OTF and Quando's camp at the time, that person allegedly should have known better regardless of intent. That internal split reportedly matters because it allegedly determines what, if anything, OTF Circle decides to do publicly about G Herbo's alleged role. And according to sources, that decision has not yet been made, which means that Herbo is allegedly operating right now in a window of public normalcy that may or may not close in the near future, depending on choices being made inside OTF that he reportedly has no visibility into. And this is the part that nobody is talking about. G Herbo has maintained a fully normal public presence throughout this entire period. His social media activity shows no awareness of any elevated tension with OTF Circle. He has posted music, posted personal content, and engaged with his audience with a consistency of someone who has no reason to believe that his name is being discussed in any serious or consequential way inside the circle most affected by what he allegedly communicated before November 6th. According to sources, that public normalcy is genuine. Herbo reportedly does not know the full extent of what is allegedly being attributed to him internally within OTF. He does not allegedly know that the detail Shannon raised on Club Shay Shay has been traced back, through the alleged chain of information travel, to his conversation with an intermediary in 2020. And he reportedly does not know that Durk allegedly knows. Stay right here because it gets worse. Because Wallo 267 is now allegedly navigating a position that sources describe as genuinely painful by any measure. Wallo did not allegedly plant the question. Wallo did not allegedly, but the alleged result of that facilitation has reportedly created a situation where Durk is allegedly questioning whether the people he trusted to support him through the most difficult period of his life had full visibility into what they were walking him into. One source allegedly close to Wallo described his emotional state in the days following the walkout as, quote, a man who is trying to figure out if he was used without knowing it, and that question is eating him alive because he brought Durk to that table personally. The alleged weight of that position, being the trusted bridge that someone else allegedly used to create a moment of public vulnerability for a person you genuinely care about, is a form of betrayal so specific and so cruel that sources say it has added a dimension to this entire situation that goes beyond rap politics into something more personally devastating. Now here is the twist. The Club Shay Shay episode, according to sources, has not been publicly released. The walkout happened during a taping that has not yet aired. Shannon's production team is reportedly in ongoing discussions about how to handle the footage, whether to air the portion before the walkout, whether to reach out to Durk's team about a return visit, or whether the entire episode gets quietly shelved in the way that certain sensitive interview moments have been shelved before when the legal or personal stakes around a subject became too complicated to navigate publicly. According to insiders, the decision about the footage is reportedly being influenced by people on multiple sides of this story who have very different interests in what the public sees and what it does not see. And here is what they allegedly did not want you to find out. The footage of Durk's walkout allegedly exists in its complete form. Production teams do not stop recording the moment a guest stands up. They keep rolling because the aftermath of a departure is often as significant as anything that happened before it. According to sources with knowledge of the production, the footage allegedly captures not just Durk's departure but a specific exchange that reportedly happened in the room immediately after, an exchange that sources describe as, quote, more revealing than anything that was said during the actual interview. What was said in that exchange, who was present for it, and what it allegedly reveals about the organized nature of the information placement that reportedly preceded Shannon's question. That is the piece of footage that sources say multiple parties are allegedly trying to ensure never reaches the public. Whether that effort is successful, whether the footage stays private, gets leaked, gets officially released, or becomes part of a broader legal conversation, is a question that reportedly nobody inside this situation can currently answer with certainty. The only certainty, according to sources, is that the moment Lil Durk stood up from that chair and walked off that set, he allegedly walked into a new chapter of a story that started with a conversation G Herbo allegedly had 5 years ago, and that has been allegedly building toward a visible, public, undeniable surface ever since. And the name of the person who allegedly connected all of it, who allegedly took what Herbo said, moved it through 5 years and multiple hands, and allegedly placed it inside Shannon Sharpe's research document at exactly the right moment. That name has still not been said out loud. Footage allegedly exists in its complete form, and a decision about what happens to it has reportedly not been finalized. G Herbo allegedly does not know the full extent of what is being attributed to him inside OTF Circle, or that his name has allegedly been connected to the detail that reportedly triggered Durk's walkout. And Wallo 267 is allegedly navigating a position of painful uncertainty, trying to determine, according to sources, whether his genuine effort to support Durk was used by someone else as a delivery mechanism for calculated public wound. Those 3 threads are not closed. They are reportedly all in motion right now. And every single one of them allegedly leads back to the same name. The person who allegedly connected G Herbo's 2020 conversation to a 2025 television production research document, and who reportedly did it with a specific and deliberate understanding of what the consequence would be. If this story hit you differently than you expected, if it changed the way you see the walkout, the way you see Wallo's role, the way you see G Herbo's position in all of this, then your like on this video is not just a number. It is the signal that tells the algorithm this level of documented, sourced storytelling deserves to reach the people who need to see it. This specific story needs that signal because the people allegedly involved in suppressing the footage are reportedly watching how much public attention this narrative generates. Now I need your honest answer in the comments. Do you think Wallo 267 knew what he was walking Durk into? Or was he genuinely used by someone who knew exactly how much Durk trusted him? Think carefully before you answer. Because both possibilities are devastating for completely different reasons. And I have my answer. I am just not allowed to say it yet.